morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone's doing well. So today I want to talk about freedom, because this is something that we're all going to experience when we transition, or what people call death, when we pass on and leave the physical, what we know to be the physical world, into the non-physical world, which will then be our new physical world, because everything in the non-physical is very physical to the people who are there. So it's not like we ever leave the physical world, it's just we live this type of physical experience into a different one, into what we know as the spirit world, which is where we would dwell for thousands of years before we transition to the next stage, which we won't have a body at all, will just be our soul. Anyway, this freedom that is coming our way is something that we need to be very mindful of, because if we're not mindful of it here, we will destroy ourselves even quicker when we get there. As of right now, we have laws that prevent us from doing things that are unloving. We don't call it unloving. We just say, hey, it's unlawful. But it is an unloving thing. And so when we get over there, there's nothing to hold us back. There's nothing to hold us back from harming another, from stabbing another, from raping. All these different things, even molesting, these things still happen, but we have to understand that these things happen in certain dimensions. So it's not like, oh, you can be in the second dimension and experience all of that, because those things are in the lower levels of the first dimension. So those who dwell there will experience those things. But the thing is, when we're angry at someone, when we have that type of emotion within us, that type of degradation within our soul, we want to express it when someone triggers one of our emotional injuries. Same thing here. When someone says something you don't like and you want to smack them in the face, or punch them in the eye, or curse them out, or hit them with something, that rage that you would generally go into here is the same rage that you will go into there, and it's going to be actually more intensified than it is here. And so it's going to be much more difficult to control your angry outbursts towards another, because we experience things more intensely. And so this freedom, so there's no police officers or anything like that to, stop it and break it up. Whatever you want will happen. But understand, those, like, let's say, just take rape for instance. Those who want to rape will have available to them those who are willing to be raped. So the things that dwell within our soul, and the same thing happens here. People don't understand it. We see it as something different, like, oh, that's tragic. How could that, something like that happen to that person? Well, that person isn't knowledgeable about the soul. The person isn't knowledgeable about the emotional injuries that have been passed down from generation to generation, which is causing the universe to call this rapist to them. These things are not understood on the planet. But it would be in your best interest to understand these things very quickly, because this is how we stop these negative things from happening. This is because, understand that, let's say something like rape. Something like rape is a message to the person who is getting raped that there is something within them that's causing that. There's pain from that which happened to your ancestors generations back, has been now passed on to you. Now you have to identify this unloving thing that is within your soul. So therefore you have to have the rape experience in order to realize that it's there, so that you can release it, since your ancestors didn't release it when it happened to them. Now some people may see this as this is a messed up thing, and why do I have to go through this when it was my parents who didn't release an emotional injury? Well, hey, look, if your parents were unloving to themselves, they're going to be unloving to their offspring. This is how it works. It's not about, why is it happening to me? I didn't do anything. It's all about, your parents didn't love themselves enough. Therefore, that unloving act that they took towards themselves have now been passed on to you. Because look, nobody complains when the good genes, or I'm using genes, but nobody's complaining when the good things are passed on, when the abilities are passed on from their parents. But when their pain is passed on from their parents, they have a big problem with it. And this is just, people are hypocritical. They don't understand what they're saying. They don't understand what they're thinking. They just don't understand. And so all this irrational, illogical thought processing starts to happen, and it doesn't make any sense because it's coming from a place that doesn't make any sense. But whatever. We have to allow people to find their way. We have to allow people to think whatever they want to think and be okay with it. It took me a while to get to this place where I'm okay with people thinking how they want to think, believing what they want to think, because I was raised just like the majority of everyone else who was raised on this planet, that there is a wrong and a right, and your way is the right way. That's it. Egocentric. My way is the right way. You should do it this way. I used to always do that to people. Hey, that's not the way to do it. This is the way to do it. Honestly, they can do it any way they want to do it. And if they run into problems, then they run into problems. At that time, they need to ask themselves, do I want to do it differently? But they need to ask themselves. We don't have to control or guide someone. We only do that if someone asks to be guided. That's it. But we never control anyone. We don't even have that power. All we have, the only power we have is the power of influence. We can influence someone, and then they choose to carry out what we have influenced them to do, or we can reject their influence. But we don't have any control. That's an illusion. That is an illusion. Now we can force ourselves upon someone, just like a rapist would force themselves upon a child or an adult or whatever. But we don't have control. We don't have control, or I should say, we have not been given the power to control. Our power is to control ourselves, to make decisions for ourselves. And this is important when it comes to this freedom thing, because just because you have the freedom to do it doesn't mean you should be doing it. And we all know that. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We all know that. But what keeps us from doing unloving things here is, like I said before, is the law. It's the law that prevents us from doing that, because we don't want to get caught. We don't want to get reprimanded by the law. But understand there are universal laws, but the universal laws that apply in the spirit world apply to us now. And so every time you do an unloving thing here, you are being penalized for it. Meaning there is a law of attraction event that is coming to correct you. It's really not it's not a penalization. It's more of a correction. It's a correction coming your way to show you, hey, you did something unloving. Let me show you what you did. The universe is always trying to correct us. That's the only thing it's trying to do. So when we try to control someone, and then someone tries to control us, we don't like it. We have to ask ourselves, why is this happening to me? Why am I being controlled? Well, that's easy. Either your ancestors did try to control someone. You were taught to control things, life, things around you, to make things go the way you want them to go. And the only reason why we try to control things is because the natural law of attraction cannot bring us the things that we desire. So we try to make it happen with our willpower. But this is unloving, because number one, we're trying to control situations and other people. And number two, we're ignoring the things that are within our soul that prevent us from having the things that we desire, which is causing us to make a decision to control things, which is, again, unloving. This is a cycle that we're on. So we have to acknowledge when we're being unloving. And I've acknowledged a lot of things that I used to do that were unloving. I don't do them anymore. So when people are doing something that's destructive, I have to let them do it, because it's their free will choice. I have to recognize their free will, just like the Creator recognizes our free will, which is why we're in this big old ditch now. Because of our free will. We have chosen to do this. It's not the free will that we should blame. It's our decision making that we should look at and question and ask ourselves, is this the path that I want to be on? Is this the direction I want to go in? Is this the manner in which I want to live my life? And if the question is no, then we need to change. We need to change something about ourselves. Nobody else has to change. We change ourselves, and the universe will bring us people to reflect that. So if you have a bunch of assholes in your life, if you have a bunch of controlling people in your life, change yourself, change your judgment, release it, surrender it, and the universe will take those people out, bring new people in, and your life experience will be completely different. But don't try to control it. Don't try to hang on to the people you have in your life, which are the people who are abusing you. Use them for what they're there for. If they're abusing you, they're showing something that's within you. Once you recognize it and you change it, be done with it. If they're not changing, you need to walk away. You need to love yourself enough to know and to say to yourself, hey, I'm better than this. All right, everybody, my 10 minutes is up, so have a great Tuesday, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.